So essentially, for those that are new or haven't heard about the Youth Commitment, it's a strategic network. It came from a community meeting. It's actually, the history is probably in your orange brochure in your pack. And I know I'm preaching to many of the converted because a number of schools in this room have been founding members, and we're actually at the community meeting in November 2007. But essentially what we did was we had lots of great services, lots of fantastic work happening in Hume, but in isolation of each other. And schools were, oh, how do we partner? We want to work with industry. Industry were like, we want to work with schools. How do we partner? So I guess the role of the LLEN back then was about brokering partnerships. And Bill talked a little bit about the work of the LLEN and how we move forward. So essentially what we did was we had a community meeting. We floated the idea of a youth commitment. It had been very successfully run for a long time in Whittlesea. We looked at different models, and the community overwhelmingly embraced that. Now, again, you can't have a strategic network and collaborative partnerships without participation. And so essentially what we've moved forward from that. We officially launched the Youth Commitment in 2008, and we have a 3-year Spirit of Cooperation agreement. The champions that are here today really are part of the Middle Years Working Group, and the Middle Years Working Group partners are the people that are driving this summit. It doesn't happen without investment. And what's exciting for us is, again, because we had such great collaboration and such genuine partnership, when we put in a funding application, because they're genuine, we actually get resources. And today's event wouldn't happen without the Better Futures Local Solutions, but a lot of the work of the Middle Years Working Group came from those kinds of funding opportunities, but it also comes from Communities for Children, and the Youth Commitment works closely with the Early Years Partnership. Now, the common ground is middle years for those two partnerships. But the reason I bring it up is it's about what's already here in Hume. We have great infrastructure. It's about how do you harness it. So when you're sitting in a school space, how do you work with community? And a lot of what we'll talk about today, I hope I can make this work. So look, essentially what is the Youth Commitment about? Essentially it's about like-minded people coming together to assist our young people transition from primary school into secondary school successfully, so they stay at school, and then when they finish school or if they move into senior pathways, they find their own pathway. Now that might be VCE, and that might be university, that might be an apprenticeship, that might be a VCAL program, that might be school is not the place for me and I need to find an alternative. And that's okay, but we want it to be a successful transition. Not you're booted out of school, you're a failure, you're no good. And essentially the whole of the partnership is about, okay, what is the pathway that will make that young person successful? And as we hear about today, of course, parents have a critical role to play. Youth Commitment has no money. It has passionate people who work diligently for that aim and objective, help those young people we work with. You can do it with no funding. Funding helps. What are some of the things we do? For those that are unfamiliar with the LLEN runs a whole lot of events in our community. Today is just one of them. But we didn't do it alone. We never work alone. We always work in partnership. And I guess the whole point of my message is that as schools, you don't need to work alone. There's a whole lot of community partners that are here today that absolutely want to work with you. And really, I know it's difficult because your core business is teaching, but we have the Youth Commitment Network already in place. We have the Early Years Partnership already in place. There's already strategic partnerships that you just need to come and investigate, and we will be able to direct you to where you need to go. Now, it might mean an industry connection. It might be about creating a program for disengaged young people. It might be a Making Choices brunch kind of thing where your students come and hear about different industries. I imagine we'll become more and more IT savvy, and some of this stuff potentially will happen online. But what's exciting is that in our community we do achieve things, and we have achieved things. And you guys as schools achieve things all the time. Perhaps it's that stop and reflect on some of the things you do. Achievements, again, photos, visual, try a trade, The LLEN is well represented at many of the expos. But again, we don't work alone. We always work in partnership. There's some of the resources the LLEN provide. If you're not aware of them, jump onto our website, like our Facebook page. You know, schools need that community support. And if we don't have community supporting our schools, that disconnect starts to happen. So part of what today is about is, as schools, how do you absolutely look at how do you connect and how do you rate your partnerships? And it's a two-way thing. It's like a relationship with a parent. If you don't invest in it, then the partnership can drop away. So how do we know it's working? Well, we ask our people. We ask our stakeholders. One of the meetings coming up for the youth commitment will be about sustainability. We will be putting it back to our membership to talk about how are we going to move forward. And there's some great testaments up there. But what will be better is when Karla talks about partnerships in action. That's our model. That's kind of what we work to. You can see that there's a whole lot of strategic planning opportunity in Hume. You can lobby at all levels. And it's very important sometimes that we do try and voice for our young people and our families. The community team is essentially what the youth commitment is about. It's the strategic network at the moment, and then spinning off that are specialised working groups. The middle years working group is the group that has worked in this middle years space. Is the work ever done? Of course it's not. We all know it's ongoing and it can go forever. But what's exciting is there is investment and opportunity coming to Hume.
My name's Karla. I'm team leader of youth partnerships at the council. We're a very large youth services department. We're very blessed that our council is quite committed to young people and the opportunities that are available to them within Hume. And I welcome any inquiries afterwards. Happy to have a chat around how council services particularly can assist your school, but also to put you in touch, I guess, like Nicky was saying, with some of the other opportunities through the youth commitment. I just wanted to highlight a couple of programs that Youth Services as a department is running with a couple of local schools, and just to, I guess, give you a bit of background about some good practice that's happening out there in the community and maybe inspire you to have some conversations. Some of you might have seen as you walked in the very large comic book that was out there. Did anyone see that? Yep. That's the work of students at Roxburgh College from the boys group, which we run in partnership with Roxburgh College and also with Hume Central Secondary. The boys program's aimed at young men who are at that critical time where they're possibly going to be disengaging from school. They've been identified by their teachers as maybe at risk, not necessarily being bad kids either, just those that might be struggling a little bit or have some stuff going on at home, not quite fitting in. And the boys group works with a teacher from the school and one of our youth workers, and they go through a series of workshops. So there's been some fantastic successes. There's been really great increased engagement in the classroom and some good academic outcomes, and I'm sure the staff from Roxy will be able to attest to that. And I think the biggest thing that we found, and this program's been running for maybe 5-6 years, is that there is a commitment from the school and there is a commitment from council that each of us will bring those resources together and commit to that hour of that day to those 10, 12 young men in that room. The other program I wanted to talk about was our Link-In program. This program's actually been funded by the Victorian State Government. So we're very lucky to have 2 workers dedicated just to this program. It is run out of the English Language Centre, which is part of Hume Central Secondary, and it's targeting those very newly arrived students who come maybe through humanitarian or refugee pathways and are very new and about to embark on their transition to mainstream schooling. Link-In basically, again, is a referral from the school. So the school will identify those students that they feel will benefit from the program, and each term there's a different cohort of those students. Just some key sort of elements I think that we found as youth workers that tend to work very well with school. Some common things is forward planning. The boys group and some of our other programs have actually been about 6 to 12 months in the planning sessions, just having those conversations about who are we targeting, what do we want to get out of the programs, who can bring what to the table, and understanding the context that we're working in. So for youth workers who may not have actually worked in a school before, it's really important that they understand that you're restricted by timetables, by rooms, by spaces, that we can't just pick up a group of kids and take them on a bus and off we go, like we might be able to do maybe after school or in the holidays. And the same, I guess, with schools understanding community agencies. What are they about? What are they funded to do? They're not necessarily replacement workers, they're add-on workers. So really having those nitty-gritty conversations about who are you and how do we work together. And when you have a look at the partnerships tool, that's a fantastic way of actually using that to have those initial conversations. Sometimes you might need a bit of a formal agreement, or at least to agree on, all right, this is our shared vision. With some of our schools, we actually have a formal signed memorandum of understanding that says, this is what the school brings to the table, this is what youth services brings, and we sign off on that and then review that at the end of each year. Resources. Like I said, sometimes community can be the add-on. So have a really good think about, what do we need? Both of our boys programs actually operate out of youth centres. Both Roxburgh College and Hume Central are very lucky in that council youth centres are pretty much right next door. So the students can walk out the door across the car park. They're in a different space, but they're still quite connected. So, have a chat to your local agencies around what other spaces or resources or things they can bring to the table. Review and evaluation, I'm sure you know as teachers how important it is to actually check how's it all going, is it working, and going back to that initial thing of are we actually achieving what we wanted to achieve. And parental engagement and endorsement is the other thing that's really big for us as youth workers, is about actually looking holistically at that young person and not just within a school context, but what's going on for them beyond that. So with our link-in parents, we actually find out exactly which nationalities those young people are coming from, and we will send a letter home translated into those community languages, and we make sure that we're informing the parents all the time of what's going on with those kind of things. And I think getting their agreement and understanding as well is really important. So observations from me. I'm happy to have a chat to you about our programs or any other way that council can work in partnership. Thank you.